I'm Pam Herbst with AEW Capital Management. I'm an executive managing director based out of Boston, and I'm retiring at year end after 26 years with the firm, running their direct investment business, which is all of our value added funds and separate accounts. So I'm not so sure that I selected it when I was a young person. I started out actually working in an investment research group at New England Life Insurance Company, which meant that I had access to all of the different investment asset classes. And I had the opportunity to get to know the senior people. And I actually loved the people in real estate. And after a few years, I transferred over to a new job there in asset management and really quickly learned that the role was really interesting because I never did the same thing every day. I was dealing with different assets, I was dealing with different operating partners, leasing agents, property managers, clients, etc. And I loved it. I felt like I was almost running a little company. I think they were very forward thinking, tough cookies, to be honest with you. A lot of the financial service industry is dominated by men, and real estate in particular for most of my career was. In fact, when I would go to industry functions when I was a young professional, oftentimes there would be 5 women in a group of 75 men. So in order to survive in that, you really had to have thick skin and be able to get along with a bunch of men and really understand quickly what you had in common in order to develop friendships and to be able to network. I actually had 2 women that were role models for me in my very first job out of college. Working in investment research, I reported to one of the co-senior economists at New England Life. And she was a very smart, very buttoned down professional who was really a great mentor. She set the stage relative to expectations around work product and professional etiquette and behavior. And it was really terrific for me. I feel really fortunate. She was tough, but I really feel like I learned a lot from her and I admired her because when I walked around the investment floor at that time, even in the other asset classes, there were probably 3 women in total. And then the other mentor I have in the real estate industry is Lynn Thurber, who ran LaSalle Investment Management and then was chairperson of ULI, and I believe today she's chairperson of the LaSalle Property Income Trust. When I was working on the formation of a new fund when I was about 27 years old, Lynn's not that much older than me, but I just remember we hired Brooks Harvey, which was division of Morgan Stanley, to come in and be an advisor to us. And in walks Lynn. She was expecting, she was dressed incredibly professional. And I just admired her at that point in my career and just tracked her. And then, actually competed against her sometimes for assignments. And I was saying to somebody, even as, a 55-year-old, still felt like, oh my gosh, this is like my idol in the industry. I think she's amazing. My advice to them is to really be themselves. I mean, there's obvious differences between men and women in terms of how we think. And if I think back to when I was younger, oftentimes you felt like you had to fit into a mold, and fitting into that mold was uncomfortable because it's not who you are. And so my advice to women is, really stay true to yourself, be comfortable asking questions, be comfortable pushing back, but as you would in any professional setting, do it in a very measured way. And I think if you do that, I think you'll do fine. But I also think you need to be realistic about your personal and your professional goals in your career and don't set yourself up for failure. We all go, life is life. That's why it's called that. It's a journey. And you're going to have different goals at different points in your life with respect to the formation of a family and caring for young kids and then bringing them through high school and college. And, sometimes I think that women are just way too tough on themselves. And I think it's okay to sit back and think about what you want and express what you want. And don't always come to conclusions on your own. I think women oftentimes have these conversations with themselves at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's not a good thing. They should be having the conversation with their boss about what they're looking to accomplish. I would say I never really felt like I had huge barriers. And I think part of that is because I also had two unbelievable male mentors. Um, and I felt like anything that a lot of people would view as a challenge, I tried to view as an opportunity. So I would take a look at the situation and think, okay, what can I bring to this situation? And so it would be a rare moment that I would turn down an opportunity. I was the person who was always willing to take on new things. And as a result of that, I think I excelled because I did that. And so I didn't feel like there were huge barriers. I think the biggest challenge I had in my career was when I was in my early to mid 40s, I went through a merger between my predecessor firm and AEW, and I was tasked with being the change agent on that merger. And many of my colleagues that I had worked with at that point for over 15 years left. And I had to go in and be a change agent with my team, some of my existing coworkers and some of the new people from AEW. I had to lay off a number of people. I had to develop best practices. And I'm thrilled to say, as challenging that as it was, I shared with my colleagues what we had to accomplish. And together as a team, I always say it takes a village to do anything successfully. We were able to do it. But that was a very tough time in my life. I had two young kids, and saying goodbye to a lot of friends was very difficult for me. But it's part of being a leader and being able to bring the company into the future. I've seen a lot of the change in the last 10 years, even to the last 5 years. Okay. I think that organizations in the industry and companies are really trying to make a difference. I know that throughout my career, I always promoted hiring very smart, hardworking women, um, working with the company to give those women an opportunity to work less than full time if they wanted to, because there tends to be a bit of a, you just can't do that. It's black and white. You can't work less than full time. And I said, if any of these women are looking to reduce the time commitment to their job, I really think that you'll win their commitment in the future and they'll end up being phenomenal employees. And that has really turned to be true. So I'm really proud of that. That was a big deal like 10 years ago. Now, I think work-life balance is becoming much more accepted, and companies are really looking for ways to retain women and make sure that they have the opportunity to step back if they need to or step forward when they want to. And I really see that as a huge change. For me personally, in tribute to my retirement, AEW actually just established and endowed, I found a scholarship at my alma mater, which is one of the, I think they told me it's the third most diverse college in the United States, and that's the University of Massachusetts at Boston. And they're also going to have an internship program. So to me, that's incredibly huge because I feel like I couldn't have a more fitting tribute, but it also tells me that AEW is walking the talk around bringing in people of color and more women and giving people opportunity and being clear that not everybody has to have gone to an Ivy League school or a private college, that there's a lot of really smart kids out there that just can't afford that kind of tuition, neither can their mom and dad. So that to me, that kind of says it all. And I see that happening everywhere in the industry. I think that all of us have to embrace it. I think that women have to really embrace it. It's really interesting when I talk to a number of young women, they'll tell me that they look for female mentors and role models, and oftentimes they're incredibly tough. And I think there's a tendency for people, not just women, to kind of look back at their career and say, well, there was no one there paving the way for me. I didn't have a mentor, so why should I do that for you? I'm a firm believer that women need to embrace women. We have to support one another, and you have to be happy when you hear that there's better flex time, there's work from home, there's longer parental leave. I think that if we don't embrace it as female leaders, it's just not going to happen. And it has to start with women. I think this generation of men, many of them have very successful working spouses, and they see how hard their spouses are working, and they also see the commitment that they have to give to parenting. And as a result of that, they're really supporting it as well. So I've just seen a sea change, I'd say in the last 5 years. I think it's awesome. And I see it with my son and my daughter-in-law, and I'm so proud. I tell him all the time, he's rocking it. Keep it up. My advice to them is to come in, work hard, be prepared, and be realistic, right? We're in a very competitive environment, right? The world's getting more and more competitive. So don't always do everything by the script. Always be prepared to be able to respond for clients to win business. It's really important that you always stay transparent, right? Make sure you tell your clients good news and bad news. And like I said before, just really, really be yourself and don't be uncomfortable being yourself. And when you don't know something, it's okay to admit you don't know something. I'm really proud of the progress that has been made in the industry. When I was going through it, I saw it, but there was no one to talk to about it, right? It's like you're not going to go to an industry function and be networking and saying, hey, we're all the women, right? The joke was always at ULI used to say, this is awesome. ULI is the only place you go where the line for the ladies' room is pretty short. It's the one advantage I'm going there. Versus being a guy, but it's really coming around, and it's so true in every industry. It's just great to see.